Well, you're welcome back. It's that Friday feeling right here on the AM show. Later, Joe Metal will regale us with some wonderful music, live music right here in the studio with his band. I can't wait. Before that, we'll also bring you this rather fascinating story from Jamestown, where the Ghana Library Authority is using some pretty clever basketball skills to entice young people to read. But before that, this week has been a busy and eventful one at the Short Commission as they continue to probe the Ayawaso West Wuogon violence. And today we're going to do a bit of analysis of what's gone down since they had their first sitting of the week on Monday. To help us do that, from our politics desk here at JoyNews, Malika A.W.W.
Hey, good to be here.
Saga of the retained.
Oh, see this one.
How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
You?
You've been following the proceedings this week?
Yeah, I've been following some
Quite
of them,
interesting.
not all
Yeah.
of them. Yeah,
Okay.
quite interesting. Quite interesting. I think the outstanding ones were the crimes officer for the East Legon police station, and then Kusifuri obviously said, of course, two other journalists appeared yesterday, Paula Dumochri and then Bernard Avle also appeared yesterday. I think the crime officer's testimony was outstanding because she also had first-hand experience with some of the things that happened. Particularly, she was talking about a Wala youth chief whom she met at the place holding casings of, after gunshots had been fired, the casings that were left. These cases were being held by this Wala youth chief who showed the casings to them but insisted that he won't give it to them. And that he was going to use her own words, to use them to build his case. And the commission members were quite shocked that somebody will pick these things, which are supposed to be pieces of evidence from a crime scene, and then tell the police that the person will not hand them over to the police, and that the person is going to use them for his own case. And you would wonder, what case is it that this person, this Wala youth chief, wanted to build, for which reason he collected this evidence and refused to hand them over to the police. And I remember one of the commission members asking the police why they didn't do anything to collect this evidence, because he had said that the cordon of the place, they had seen blood stains, they had seen the marks left by gunshots and all of that. And they couldn't collect the casings. In fact, she assisted that there were other two people who also picked some. And all that they did, the police did, was to take pictures of these things and then leave them with the persons who collected them. And again, when the MP for Ningo Pram, Sam George, met the commission, he tendered some of these things as evidence. And when he was asked where he got them, he said some people picked them at the scene and they handed them to him. Again, critical question. Why were these guys who picked these things willing to hand them over to a member of parliament and not the police?
Indeed.
Raises fundamental questions
about trusts.
Absolutely. About whether these people have sufficient confidence in the willingness and ability or capability of the police to do an unbiased, fair, balanced investigation into the matter or not. And clearly the answer is there. It is the reason why they didn't give them to the police but prefer to give them to their member of parliament.
Or even subsequently the Wala chief.
And in fact, that member of parliament himself was asked why he didn't give them to the police, and he said that the same police that were watching whilst he was being brutalized, how could he be reasonably expected that he will have trust in these police people and will give these pieces of evidence to them. But he believed that the commission would do a good job. He had confidence in the members of the commission and their impartiality. It was for that reason that he brought the casings to the commission hearing and tendered them as evidence. Now, yesterday, Kusifuri took his turn, and we know Kusifuri, don't we? That he used to be spokesperson for the Ghana police for a very long time. And yesterday, his testimony was somewhat interesting because he narrated personal experiences with vigilante groups. And one of the things that stuck with me was when he said in Kumasi, he took a decision to ward off persons who had arrogated to themselves the power to disrupt registration at polling centers. And when he arrested them and prevented them from taking the law into their own hands, he was transferred. Now, this police officer links his transfer directly to his work as a police officer, and the fact that he prevented these guys from violating the law and destroying public property, and he was transferred as a result of that. He has experience elsewhere in Liberia and other places where he talked about the people that Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu describes as warlords in Liberia, managing streets on their own and determining whether a person has right to pass through those streets or not because they are law unto themselves. And this is how these things started. They gather all these young people, give them some sort of training, give them some weapons, give them some money, and then they now have their loyalty to these warlords and not to the state. The state then becomes subservient to these groups, and then the purposes for which these groups are organized are sometimes not very noble and not honorable.
And suddenly it's almost like we don't even have a democracy.
Yeah.
Malik, I have a question. In my head, it seems a bit long, so forgive me, but I'll try and bring it out quite quickly. It's about the police and the role they've played so far in the hearings that have gone on. So we first heard the police, even before the hearings began, talk about how they didn't know who these masked armed men were. They repeated the same at the commission. Then we heard from a police officer who commands the SWAT team talk about how, well, the SWAT team is made up of police and operatives. We've heard the same police officer say the operatives were unarmed. Operatives in black and khaki, unarmed. We've seen videos in which they were armed. We've heard the director of operations say he didn't know about their operation. But we've also heard the director of operations at National Security say that he was asked to provide a headquarters for them in the constituency. He provided Abelenkwe, and it was their staging grounds. And at 6 a.m., they were there, the operatives, well, the SWAT team, alongside the team that was responsible for, the police team responsible for
the general management of security for the by-election.
They were there at the same time in the morning. So how are the police able to tell us that they don't know?
No, I think one thing is clear, and Chief Superintendent Kusifori made that clear yesterday, that not only that were they not aware of the existence of these guys and the operations that they were going to undertake, his men who were on the ground ought to have reported to the police hierarchy that there were these persons here who are said to be police officers or national security officers who are undertaking some operations in this area. He said that they were supposed to alert them because anybody can dress in any uniform and have any branded car and purport that they are working for the state.
But they were led by DSP Azuku.
Absolutely.
Who may be known to the...
Well, so that's one of the explanations he gave, that maybe, in fact, he didn't make an emphatic statement. He said it is entirely possible that the police officers on duty may know some of the police officers who were part of the SWAT team, and it is probably the reason why they didn't report. But ordinarily, they ought to have reported the sighting of these persons within the constituency, because there were so many of them, 60 people.
But how can you be at the same headquarters, the same staging area in the morning at 6 a.m.? You're all there together.
Were they all?
That's what the director of
that
operations.
Even those who were monitoring the operation?
Yes.
No, those who were monitoring the election?
Yes. That is what the director of operations, Colonel Opoku.
Yes.
That was his testimony.
Director of operations for the national security.
There was a meeting between the Deputy Minister of Interior, the police's Director General of Operations, and him, Director of Operations at National Security, and another, I think someone from Immigration, the Comptroller General of Immigration. They all had a meeting in the Deputy Minister's office, where he was asked to provide the staging area for them, from where the entire team, the police team in charge, the monitoring team, and the national security would operate from. So that morning at 6 a.m., the SWAT team mobilized there, alongside, and he said, he used the word co-habited. Is it co-habited or co-located? That's the word he used. They co-located,
meaning
with
that
the election monitoring team.
Meaning that we had the NSC team, and then we had the normal police other security agencies,
immigration officers and all of that.
Yes, co-located with the election monitoring team. All right, those are his words. At the same time, 6 a.m., at the same place. Then later, when the violence breaks out, the police who were co-located with you say, we don't know you.
No, I guess what is, I guess the knowing was an operative word, and it was used in a particularly special term. Because I may know you, but if I don't know the purpose for which you are here, in their language, they may say, and especially when they are testifying before a commission, they may say they don't know you because if you were not part of the security task force for the election, and they try to draw a distinction between the persons, the 60 men, the police officers and the national security.
Why not say that? Why not say, well, we saw them in the morning at our head, at our location where we mobilized, but we didn't know what they were there for.
The point is that
why not say that?
I think we sent a team there, and so subsequently, let's be realistic. The series of events or the sequence of events happened so fast in the wee hours of the opening of the election.
And you were there.
Yeah, of course. So we also spoke or had an interaction because subsequent or before those interactions, it was not possible for a journalist to visibly use a camera to be filming. So many of the interactions, I believe, just like other journalists who were there would do, would be to elicit some answers based on some responses and hope that nobody was watching. It happened so fast, between 15 to 20 minutes, the whole incident of the shooting had taken place and they had left. And you have the interaction with the immigration officers or an officer who was close to the polling area where the incident happened because elections or voting had halted for about 45 minutes. And then the police personnel who were there. And I can say they didn't seem to have known the men.
Wow.
But
so that is why this whole point about co-location and whether ideally they should know them is something new to maybe any reporter who was there, including me.
So you reckon there are questions to be asked about
many
Colonel
questions
testimony?
Yes, because when Chief Superintendent Kwesi Foria appeared, within that 3 minutes that he appeared, after they had left, between 3 and 5 minutes when they had left, he seemed to be
bewildered,
to be in the wilderness about who they were. Even when people had told them that DSP Azugu was the one who led them, he said he didn't know where they were coming from. Yeah. He didn't know what they were doing, and it's the first time, because we all do some police stuff. It's the first time I heard of operations order, and he said they are not on the operations order. And I said, and I asked him, what is the operations order? And he said, oh, it's the itinerary for the day. And everybody is supposed to be fitted into the operations order. Yeah. And so he said, okay, you follow me. Let me go to where the shooting was first heard. You see, so then it brings to mind somebody who is in charge of operations for Accra region, who was integral to the operations order for the day. He not knowing who was supposed to have been packed. If they were really co-locating with his men, he should know.
Indeed. And he wouldn't say something like, our men don't wear masks, so where did these men come from?
And I think the point, again, is, and he made that point yesterday, that they didn't know about these guys coming. They didn't know about the operations that they were going to take. They didn't know, they were not part of the plan, as he told you on the scene. And he pretty much told the commission that, but said that in the future, he hopes that there will be better collaboration and coordination between these security agencies, because Professor Henry Tamensa Bonsu was keen to find out from him, if you went on an operation to organize the conduct of an election and to supervise it and to provide security for it thereof, and you have another set of people who come to this area and say they are playing a role in terms of security, you have to remember that one of the purposes for which they went there, according to Azugu's testimony, was confidence building. Yeah. And he was asked specifically, confidence building in respect of what? He said, well, because people were voting and they had intelligence that some people had intended to create mayhem and make it uncomfortable for people to come out and vote. Their purpose was to assure voters that, look, your security is covered, go out and vote. So they took 10 vehicles pickups and all kinds of vehicles to just drive through their constituency and let people know that they are there to protect them and to provide security. That is his definition of confidence building. That confidence building itself cannot be said to derogate from the election security. Nonetheless, you would find that all the persons, the police officers, the politicians, and everybody who appeared before the commission was keen to emphasize that the 60 men who were there, National Security Police Officers, the SWAT team, had absolutely nothing to do with the elections.
One or two military.
And that their purpose there was simply to cordon off this house, or warehouse as they call it, because they had intelligence that some weapons were being located there, and to do a search.
So which was the main mission? The search or the confidence building?
A.W.W said two.
Okay.
He did not distinguish between them. He said they were there to do two things. They were there to do this confidence building, i.e. just drive through the constituency, and also to do the search in this warehouse. That's what they went out.
Forgive me, but it appears that we can at least make some distinction, because this is what he said, if I recall correctly. He said that there was some intelligence of the possibility of these arms being stockpiled. That word was used a few times in some warehouse in that location. And his instructions were to go and do this confidence building, and that if the intelligence is confirmed, he would then have to do a possible search. So he used the words possible, cordon, and search. So it would appear that the original mission is go and build confidence, because we've heard possibility of some trouble. But if we confirm this intelligence, there will also be a possible search of a specific location. So that, I mean, for me, I don't know if any of you see the flaw in the logic here. You want to go and build the confidence of people who don't know that there is something to make them not have confidence. They are not aware of any threat.
So as far as they were concerned, there was no need for anybody to build their confidence, because they were not afraid.
Indeed. But then you send masked, armed men to go and build their confidence.
I think I would say that prior to the men driving in, everybody was okay in the area, because the reason why I think many reporters also chose to go to the Baoleshe area and also maybe Legon and whether the school around Abilingpe and all that was because the Baoleshe area, even though it's close to East Legon, seemed to be the proletariat area of East Legon, because it's a mixed bag of inhabitants of settlers who either usually do menial jobs, artisanal jobs, masons and all that. So it's those who do everything. They sell shoes, some do masons, some do so, and we have both mixed NPP and NDC supporter, and they seem to be living in some level of cohesion, even though they sharply are divided on party lines on many issues. But the activities that they undertake daily was always, and we had been there 3 days prior. And so when the men made entry, everybody got alarmed. All the shops and everybody started closing shops, in a way, at least those who had opened on the day. Yeah, so, and everybody just became curious to see, really, this man, where are they and why here? And you could hear the chattering and the murmurings and everything.
So you didn't see the building of confidence?
No, I don't think.
Because you know, dissipation
rather, yeah. And if you take a look at what the issues have been, especially raised at the commission, and what the objective of the whole trooping in of that team, I don't think that then they met the, because I'm thinking if you're picking intelligence, then you should first go in and try to maybe plainly wear your clothes as a civilian and try.
Well, they said they had done that for 24 hours prior.
Okay.
Which is what makes me question the efficiency of our intelligence services, because if you have been observing a place for 24 hours, at the very least, you should know it's not a warehouse.
Yeah.
You should know that, at least, after 24 hours.
So I think two of the other notable appearances yesterday were Paul A.W.W. And I think for many of us in the media, we were anticipating Paul's appearance, because, I mean, I have been with Paul on Newsfile, Super Morning Show, Editors Forum, and, you know, he has this he has a certain knowledge about elections and about our politics, and because of his training, he brings sometimes legal analysis to bear on his discussion. So, I mean, many of us were anticipating that he will bring, and in fact, his own post on Facebook had indicated that he was going to look at Article 57 of the Constitution and how all of these play a role in what has become known as militialism in our body politics. Somehow, I think his appearance was kind of truncated somehow because he didn't submit to them any evidence or any videos as others have submitted, and he was not there. Unlike you, who were there when all of the things unfolded, he wasn't. So I think when he appeared before the commission, they just asked him a few questions. He did under 5 minutes, and then he was let go. Then he entered A.W.W, our friend at City FM, who submitted some 9 videos, and he walked the commission through those videos and how those videos were shot. One sticking point was in Sam George's appearance, and I'm talking about the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram. He has shown a video in which he said that he was in a room with a City FM reporter, and there was a ballot box in that room. Now, Professor Henry Tamensa sought to find out from A.W.W whether it was his reporter who shot that video. He was unable to tell because he said at the material time, his reporter who was in this room with Sam George did not have, he's not the one who had the camera. Nonetheless, it is entirely possible he may have been able to use his phone, but he couldn't tell at that time whether he was the one who shot this video and the circumstance of it thereof. And the commission members asked whether they could get these guys who were in this room with Sam George where this ballot box was located to testify before the commission and to provide further evidence as to how that video came about and whether that video was credible at all, and whether they could rely on it as part of their collection of evidence as a commission. I think that was the highlight of that appearance. And obviously, because Bernard himself was not there, and I did not think that he anticipated this line of questioning, he could not give a direct answer as to whether his reporter was the one who took the video or not. I'm sure when the guy appears, he may tell the circumstances under which this ballot box was there, if he came to know, and whether he took the video or not, so that would also help the commission.
I think it probably indicates that the commission doesn't give a lot of prior briefing to witnesses about what they will be questioned on. Because you're right, I followed Paul Adumochu's, if you call it, preparation for giving testimony, and he had every intention of sharing quite a bit of, like you said, his perspectives, fueled by his training and so forth on these issues and electoral violence and so forth, the history of it. But as it turns out, that was not what the commission was interested in. Probably in the case of the other witnesses, it was probably the same. They would have no knowledge, no briefing prior of exactly where the committee wishes to take them in the narrative.
And to add to that, the other thing that we have to notice that I was here with Bernice Abuwido, our colleague, who said to me that somebody at the commission had told her that the commission is winding down its work because they've been sitting for 2 weeks now. They are clear in their minds, and I'm talking about the commission members.
In terms
they are clear in their
the
minds,
responses they've gotten,
absolutely, where things are headed, who did what caused what. That framework has been established, having received all the testimonies that they have, having analyzed all the testimonies that they have received. So they no longer want to waste a lot more time hearing people who come and virtually repeat the same things that they have heard before and not say anything new, because they know what happened. Because it's pretty much clear. All the key persons or all the key actors have testified. The National Security Minister, the Minister of State at National Security, Brian Achampong, and earlier I'm talking about the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapa. You have all the police commanders and national security persons, Director of Operations, the person who was in charge of the SWAT team. All of those guys have testified. That is ample information for the commission to be able to make the recommendations that is required of it under the LI, that under the constitutional instrument that's at the commission up.
Okay, but we have to wrap up. But would you say that what the commission has done so far, the soliciting of views, especially from those who tend to do the reporting and manage the news content, has been right. And what should then be some of the conclusions they could draw, especially getting those testimonies from the head of the various security agencies?
No, I think having heard all the people that have been heard, every single person who played a particular role, however minute, has been heard. And I think that they have sufficient information on the basis of which to compile their report. What the recommendations will be, we have to wait and see, because we can't go into the minds of the commission members and see. But I think one thing we can all envisage is that they certainly will make a recommendation as to what to do with these militia groups, and I think that they will require that all the political parties take active steps to deal with these groups, because, I mean, as you have heard the commission members themselves say, they do not believe that these groups have any role to play in our body politics, and they will require that they should be disbanded.
Charlie Malik, great talker, great talker.
Malik Abbas Dabu is from our politics desk. Thank you so much. It's been fascinating.